Hello, welcome to another special Sudoku solve video. Uh, Today I have something unique. When I started doing, the variant Sudoku, this was one of the first puzzles that I saw that I wasn't able to beat at the time. This was, it was more than a year ago, the release date. I had been doing some variant Sudokus, but mostly 1 or 2 stars. But the rule set of this one just really spoke to me, and I had been trying for several days to solve this. Um, and I don't know, a few days ago I remembered this puzzle, and I thought, it is time. It is time I do solve it. Um, it is old, so I don't know the significance of it, but I really, really love this puzzle. And in total, it took me 4 hours of not really active solving. I was also doing other stuff and thinking about it through the day. So I don't know. Maybe 4 hours is a good mark, but um, yes, I wanted to go through it and give my thoughts and just experience this puzzle. Um, it's River Crossing by IcyFruit. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Divide the grid into 3 orthogonally connected sections, such that each pair of sections shares an edge. A node 2x2 square in the grid belongs to a single section. A digit in a circle indicates the number of circles in its section. On section sumlines, all adjacent groups of digits along the line which are part of the same section have the same sum. No line can be entirely within one section. Okay, so I think I'm gonna start with some general ideas that I have beginning this. Is an arrangement like this possible? Because normally in yin yang you would say, well, this isn't possible, right? But is this? And I don't think it is, because however you connect orange to orange, you isolate purple from touching blue. So that's not possible. Now, if we expand this to the border, let's say this, and then something like, well, let's remove a few, this, and then this. This isn't possible either, because now if you connect blue to blue, you isolate orange from purple. Right. So every color can be on the border at most once, is the idea. In my head, at least, that I am fairly certain that that's the idea, because right, however you alternate those colors. Well, is this a thing? No, because now you isolate orange from orange. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, every color can be at most in the border once. If you have a secondary of a color, you isolate one from the other. And I think that's a main point. Now, what did it say about the circles? Digit in a circle indicate the number of circles in its section. There's 3 colors and 3 circles. So could for example both of those be blue? I know that then they would be the same digit, but do the rules allow something like that? A digit in a circle indicates the number of circles in its section. No, okay, that's not true. So these circles together, how many are there? 6, 9, 11. These circles together, one is going to be in one region, one is going to be in the other, and the third is going to be in the third. So these 3 are the 3 regions, and they sum to 11. So how do you make 11 in 3 digits without using a 1, right? Because if we put a 1 here, one of those circles is going to be the same color as that 1, and that breaks. So I can see 2, 3, 6, 2, 4, 5 as the 2 options. Is there anything else? No, I don't. No, there isn't. Okay. So, okay, so let's start with 2, 3, 6 because I think that's the most prevalent. Because in how many boxes do we have circles in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if it is 2, 3, 6, that means that every box must have a 6. It cannot be this one because that blocks that one. So 6, 6, and 6. Now, and then we would have 2, 3, and 6. I think this is already a problem. Right, okay. Because there is a division of color somewhere along this line, right? Because no line can be entirely in one section. So we have a division. Let's draw it here for a second. There is one here, at least. So this is some color. This is some color. And I'm drawing that intentionally. Wait, I can do this. I can do that, but then that is orange again. And now we must have a scenario like this, right? Because this has to be a different color. And I can move the colors however I want, but I still end up with orange opposed each other and blue not being able to touch purple in any way. Right, so that is not true. That is not a thing. So we know that the circles are composed of 2, 4, and... Oh, not like that. 2, 4, and 5. Yes, 2, 4, and 5. 2, and these are both the 2s. And then there is 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, and 4, 5. Okay. Now I think the easiest one to see is that... So where are the 5s going to go, right? That's the question, I think. Because I have a feeling if that's 5, then that cannot be 5, that cannot be 5. Then we still have enough places to put the 5s. Okay, but from what we just looked at, those 3 cannot be 5s. So at most 2 of those can be 5s. So then one of those must be 5s. If that's a 5, does that change anything about the puzzle? No, I think it can be. I think it can be. Can it? Right, so there is a division here. It changes from some color. If that's a 5... I think the biggest question is, can that ever be a 5? Right, then we put a 4 there. Because that forces a lot of stuff, right? So that means that that has to be a 5 and that has to be a 5. That's basically what it does. Because now we have all the 4s, so the rest of the loose circles have to be 5s. So that's on the assumption that this is a 5. Now these are the same color, but there is a division here somewhere. So that is, let's say, orange. There is some blue here. And it must go back to orange. And that is orange, and this can be blue again. But yeah, so these are forced switches everywhere, right? These are our forced switches, and we can move them. That doesn't change anything, because if you say, okay, well then blue here, and then we extend this orange, you still get the same point. There is a second switch in color. Because these are the same, but there is a difference here. So there is a color in between those. That's our second color. Can that be our third color though? No, because now you isolate it again. then we're saying that, okay, then these must all be 1, because every color can only have one instance of itself in the edge, and that breaks this line. So basically this isn't 5, that's a 4. So we know that that's a 5 now. We know that that's a 5. That isn't a 5, that isn't a 4. Now, these two are sort of a 4-5 pair, I guess. So let's make this orange, make this orange. So let's say that is a 5, because I think that's the most problematic thing. Because now there is a switch, there is some instance of another color in here, and that is orange again, and then again this all must be orange. And that breaks, because if we put blue in here now, we get the connection problem again. So that cannot be 5. That cannot be the same. That is a 4, and that's our 5. And there can only be one instance of a color in an edge, so like that. Now, okay, so I think that was what you can call an easy part. Okay, let's think now. Now it is a bit more technical, I think. Right, is it still possible for the border, for example, to be here with a 3 and a 1? I don't think it is, because now the minimum for these cells is 1, 3, and 6, which is already 10, and that cannot be a 10. So we know that there is a color border here, but we don't know how that connects to everything. This one we don't know, though. Do we? Okay, wait. I have something that might be interesting. 1, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. I know this is a horrific pencil mark, but because this is 11, right, that's odd. And this is... Can this be broken up into 3 sections? Possibly. And I don't think it can. Because, right, how does blue get out now? And if we put the single color anywhere, that is a problem. That is always a problem. Okay, so that is not the case. This line is divided into 2 sections of 2 different colors. So that means that this line is double its sum, because it's 2 times, you know, it's one part of its sum, another part of its sum, so 2 times its sum. So together that's always an even number. This is always an odd number, and the total for the box is always an odd number. So this is always an even number, and it's not 2 and 4. So it is 6 or 8. If this is 6, then with 11, that is 17. And this is 28. 28 divided by 2. Right, we don't use 6 then, because then that's a 6. 28 divided by 2 is 14. How do we make 14? That's either 6, 8 or 5, 9, and neither of those options are available. So we know that that's an 8. That doesn't contain an 8, that contains a 6. Then the sum is 19. So that is 26. So the 2 cell sum is 13. So that's a 6 and a 7. So this is not a 6 or a 7. And then either these take 2 cells or this takes 2 cells. Or a color that might... There can still be an instance of a color in between, because this is only one color switch. So we can still have... I'm going to use purple as a third color, but we can still have that. So what's next? How does this, one of those is 2, right? How does that 2 get to the rest? If that 2 goes across the middle, right, to the other 2, we isolate this blue. Yeah, we do. We isolate this blue from that blue because we cannot cross this, right? Because if we enter this box, we can take that cell, but we cannot exit it again. And the same is true for this structure here. If you enter that box, that's fine, but you cannot exit it again. So if the 2 crosses the middle, that's a problem. Same for the 5 to this 5, right? That's very deliberate setting. So what am I saying? I think the 2 has to, it cannot cross those off from each other. So they have to incorporate them. So like this, like that. But this can still be the top, or it can be from here. It can even be from here. Yeah. Okay, so there is still options there that I don't want to impose. But I do know that these are part of the section that contains the 2 circle. Because they have to, you know, cross the... They have to not cut this blue off from this blue. But then still that can be it too, right? Because it can do this, because we only have one instance of every color in the edge, and there's only one switch here, so it can go from orange to blue and that'd be fine. Can this now be blue? Right, because it cannot be orange, because that would make it 2 by 2, but if that's blue, however you do it, you cut off this purple from going across like this. Yeah. Interesting. So we kind of know that that's purple. And in the same reason that is purple, because if this is blue, right, and that connects to whatever it is here, how do you get purple from here to here? Right, you can bend this however way you want to, but you still keep the problem, so that is purple. Oh, no, that's not true. It can be orange. And purple can do this. It cannot be orange because of this line, okay? Because then the whole line will be orange, okay? Okay. So however you break this up, this is... Yeah, okay. So now if that's 5, if this is 5, then this connects to that. Oh, but purple can still go up here. And then that can connect to that. Oh, right, no, that isn't true. If this is 5, right, however you connect it, how does the 4... Whatever this digit is, how does it escape this cell that it's made for itself? It has to get to here at least. It can't. And however you stretch this, if you stretch it... I'm just going to show, because the stretching part is a thing in yin-yang always. You still have an encapsulated area for yourself. So if that's 5, that's a problem. That has to be 5. And it cannot go through the top here. That would create another instance of 5, but because of the same reason. So that's not 5, that is a 5, and this is all orange. Now does it work the same with the 4 then? What did I say? If that's 4, you connect this 4 to this 4, and then to that 4. Yeah, you isolate this digit. Wow. Is that true? It cannot pass through here. Yeah, and it cannot pass that border. So you isolate this digit. So that cannot be a 4. So that is our 4. And that doesn't come out this way. because that will create a second instance of blue. So 4 does this. Now, can we do anything else? Anything funny like that? We still don't know if this is the 3 or the 2, I guess. So if that's a 2, it passes along here, along the top, that's fine. If that's a 2, because purple and 2 are the same thing. I should clarify. If this is 5, we can do this, right? That's fine. If that is 5, how do you ever get to orange without isolating anything else? Yeah, no, you always isolate. It doesn't matter how you draw it. You always isolate this. You must. Because now how does purple get out, right? And you can do anything wild you want to do like this. How does... Oh, wait. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Because you cross this cell. And this is a different color than orange. So you always have to undercut this because you cannot touch orange again. So this can never reach that one anymore. So that's not 5, that's our 2, that's our 5. So that is a 5 because of Sudoku. One of those is a 5 then. That must be a 5. One of those must be a 5. Okay. Now what do we do? So, okay, so we do know that that is orange. We do know that that is purple. So can purple can never do this now anymore, right? These bottom cells, can they ever be purple is my question. If they are, first, purple cannot go above this 4, because that would isolate this 4 from that 4. So it has to go below and it has to reach that one. So those two have to be purple. But can those be purple? No, because then you cut with this orange from this orange. So that is orange, and those are orange. We still do not know about this. Interesting. So that is some digits. I feel like whatever we did here, we can do that again. Right, if that is a 2, then it connects. It does something funky like this. How does that 4 get out? It doesn't. That 4 never reaches its partners. So that is just not true. So that cannot be a 2, that is our 4, and that is our 2. So that is purple, that is blue. Now, can this be purple now? No, because then however you connect it to that, it will isolate this. So this is blue. There can only be one instance of blue, and that's this. So these 3 digits together, because this is a different color than blue, right? So it isn't part of this sum. It is some high digit. But this can only be 1, 2, 3, or the next highest digit is 1, 2, 6, because it sees 4 and 5. So this is either a 6 or a 9, and there's always a 1 or a 2 on there. Can that be orange? No, because purple has to pass above this 5. We determined that. Now this cell, can it be orange? No, because if you connect it to orange, however you connect it, you will always cut purple off. So that is purple. So this, right? Oh, it doesn't have the same restriction. Does it? Because either this is 1, 2, 3 if it's 6, but if it's 9, you can have 1, 3, 5 and 1, 2, 6. Okay, but 1, 2, 6 is a problem because either this is 6, 7 or this is 1, 3, 9. So 1, 2, 6 doesn't work. So if it is 9, it is 1, 2, 5, 1, 3, 5. And if it's 6, it's 1, 2, 6, 1, 2, 3. So it always contains 1 and 3. So this doesn't contain 1 and 3. Yeah, that must be true. It looked weird for a second, but it must be true. So we know that this is part of orange, because it's part of this sum. And now this is still both options. Right, what then? Well, if this is a different color than purple, this is an isolated sum and it's the same as this, and that cannot be. So that's purple. At least. Let's think. If this is 6, then this is 1, 2, 3. And this is 1, 2, 3, so then this is from 6, 7, 8, and 9. But I don't see a problem with that. Oh no, I do. This is then from 6, 7, 8, and 9, so the minimum we can make is 13. Then where are we going to place 1 and... okay, I'm saying if this is a 6, then this is 1, 2, 3, right? And then this is from 6, 7, 8, and 9. And the minimum we can make these is 13, but you have to place 1 and 3, 1 or 3 on this line. And then you can never make as high as 13 because you would need a 10 or an 11 with it, and that doesn't work. Or 10 or 12. And that does, but it just doesn't work. So that cannot be a 6, that's our 9. Then this is 1, 3, 5, with a 5 being there. And this is 1, 2, and 6. So this is 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. And then we need to place 1 and 6 in here. Or and one of those digits. Does this always need to contain a 3? No, it could be 7, 8 with 6, 9 there. And a 1 there, and a 3. Okay. Oh, well, we can place more 5s, I guess. Is that... Oh, that's every 5. That after 26 minutes. I'm just laughing at that because I spent 4 hours on this puzzle and I'm going through it now, and it feels easier than I thought, but I don't know. I always say try the puzzles yourself, and even if you've watched this far, try this. Try going further from this. I really do advise you to. That's the best way to get better at solving. But it's difficult. It is very difficult. Okay, so now I think it's time to think about this middle line. Right, how is it going to be divided? Because the easy thing I'm seeing is 3, 3, 3. Right, because the total sum is 45, so it must be divided by an odd number. When it's divided by 3, it is 15 per region. Why I'm saying that is because if we only have 2 colors on there, how are you going to divide 45? It goes to something and a half, and that doesn't work. Now, it can be divided in 5 colors, and they can be spaced somewhat, now that I'm thinking about it, right? Because how, wait, no, maybe no. Right, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that doesn't even have to be the case. Just for coloring sake, does this work? Right, I can connect blue to that, I can connect orange to orange. Wait, I need time to think about this, because if we connect blue to blue like this, right, and I connect orange to orange, how does purple go through the grid? Is there an arrangement of colors where we have 5 different segments? For example, this, this, this. Is there an arrangement, right? Because now we can connect purple through the middle. Something like that. I know that that doesn't work with this, but it's just hypothetical. Now orange can connect. Wait, no. Now orange cannot connect to itself. No. Orange can never connect to itself. So that doesn't work. There is no arrangement with 5 colors. There is only with 3. But then you can still have 2, 2, 5, because you can have 6, 9, 7, 8, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the minimum is 2, so these must be those color. Yeah, because it has to be at least 2 cells long. Now, can that be orange? If that is orange, well, no, we get a cutoff. We get the cutoff problem again. Yeah, okay, so that is purple. I assume for this the same. Yeah, however you connect it, it'll always cut off something. So that is purple. Then this. Yeah, you get the cutoff problem again. And this cell could be orange very easily as well. Could it be blue? No, because you get the cutoff problem. So it could be orange. It is orange. Because it's not purple, because we cannot form a 2x2. And it cannot be blue, because we get the... I don't know, I keep calling it the cutoff problem, but you just isolate sections, so it must be orange. We don't want that checkerboard pattern, so that must be orange. Now this cell, I think, also must be purple, because the cutoff problem, yes. Okay. Now, this blue, how does this blue connect to that blue? Right, because it has to reach this row somewhere. So it either does it here or does it there. But if it does it there, we cut off purple from reaching the rest of purple, because purple has to go above this 4. In fact, purple just has to take that cell. That is just somewhat of a given, because purple comes around this 4 and connects to itself, right? Yeah. If it doesn't take that cell, then we're saying that, yes, okay, then we're saying that it connects like this somewhat, but that isolates this blue from that blue, always. So that is not true, that is purple. So must that be purple then? No, those two couldn't be orange, because if that's the case, then that is purple and that is purple, and then that's a one cell region and that's a one cell region, and they would have the same sum. So that cannot be orange. Not that cannot be orange, is what I'm saying. And if it's blue, we get the cutoff problem again. Yes. So it is purple. Okay. Then what now? We know that this section is how it is. Right. So we know that this sum is 9. So how do you... What can that be? Well, it can be 3, 7, 8, and 9, right? E. Well, not 8, I guess. It can be 7 with 1 and 1. No, I'm unsure of that at this point. Well, okay, so this is now part of a 3-cell area, and the 5 is not part of a 3-cell area. So I don't think we can do the 5. We can do the 5, 2, 2. That doesn't work anymore. So what's the other arrangements? We can have 4, 4. No, 4, 4, 1 obviously doesn't work. 2, 3, 4, that does work. So my question is, can blue grow from another cell than this one? Right. Blue, can you get your friends from this angle? I don't think it can. No, it cannot. If it does this, then obviously we cut off this purple from reaching that purple, and if we connect this purple, it will never reach this anymore. So that's not the case. Blue, well, maybe this. No, because however you connect, you cannot connect it like this because you isolate that, and if you pick up this one, you still isolate this from that. So that must be a blue. Now where does purple go on this line? It is at least 2 cells big, so it takes that one. Right, because it's either like that, or it's all 3 of them. So what am I missing here? It's 2 and 8. Can we confidently say that it's 3 and 3? No, we still have 4, 3, 2 as an option. 4 cells, 3 cells, and 2 cells. How could we ever debunk that? Yeah, how could you? I don't know. That is tough. Right, okay. Well, blue has to come out, so that's blue. So purple has to grow, it takes that one. Now that can only be blue. Now what can that be? If that is orange, we get a cutoff problem. So we know that that's purple. Now purple has to grow, so it takes that one. So that was, okay, that was good progress. Purple, if purple touches here, this 5 can never, oh, this 5 has to touch its friend, so it does it like that. Purple has to connect to here. It's starting to look very symmetrical. I'm not going to assume symmetry because I think that is lame. Though it is very likely. I don't know. I don't know anything further about this. Now this, if that's a 2, we need 13 as the rest, because now we can see that it's 3 sections of 15. So if that's a 2, then we need 13 more. It's not 5, 8. Could be 4, 9. No, it cannot be 4, 9 because of these. 6, 7. I think it could be 6, 7. Yeah, I don't see why it couldn't be 6, 7. And if it's 8, we need 7 more, which is not 2, 5. No, I don't know. I'm not sure. Oh, well, that's now an 8. Because it's the only place it can go in the box. So this is now 2, 6, 7. Oh, well, no, 6, 7 doesn't work. If that's now 2, then this prevents that from being 6, 7. So 6, 7 doesn't work, 4, 9 doesn't work, and 5, 8 doesn't work. So that's not a 2. That's an 8. That's a 2. And this is either 1, 6 or 3, 4. This is not a 4, so that's not a 3. That's not a 6, so that's not a 1. Right, okay. Then this sums to 10. Without a 2. Could be 1, 9. Couldn't be 4, 6, because that ruins both of these options. So 1, 9 doesn't work, 2, 8 doesn't work, 4, 6 doesn't work, so 3, 7 does. I don't know how much I like that, but it's okay. I will leave it for now. I think there's more to do here. Let's think. Right. Whenever I said that these digits cannot be 1, 2, 3, I said that either one of those is 2 of those 3 digits are 1 and 3. In this case, they're 1 and 6. If this is a 1, 6 pair, we have a problem because this cannot sum to 7. So one of those, this is 1 or 6, and then this is either 1 or 6. Contains either 1 or 6. If it contains a 1, the minimum for this is 10. So then it must be 1, 9, which I can already see. If it contains the 6, we have more options. Because 6 cannot sum to 10, so 3, 7 isn't an option. Cannot sum to 11, so 3, 9 isn't an option. 3, 8 isn't an option. Cannot sum to 12, so 3, 9 is an option, so 3 is not in there. If it contains a 6, this could be 7, 8, but that would be with 6, 9. I'm going to fill that in. It couldn't be 7, 9 because that would create 16. It couldn't be 8, 9 because that would be with an 11. Yeah. So it always contains a 9. This always contains a 9 and it's there. And this is the 1 or the 6. So this sum is either 10 or 15. So it always contains a 7. So that doesn't contain a 7. And this doesn't contain a 9. That isn't a 9. So that's our 9. Now, okay, that does bring the options down a bit. Sorry, just look in here. If that's a 1, then that's a 4, then that's a 3, and that's also a 3. So that cannot be a 1, that's a 3. Wow, okay. Interesting. I did not expect that one. This is 3, 6, 7. And this is 1, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 4, 9. Yes, okay, perfect. I don't know how much I like that yet, but it's okay. I'm going to keep the pencil mark for now. So maybe it's time to think about this, right? Because one of those is going to be purple. It's not going to be two of those, because which two of them would you do? Every single one will create a problem. So one of those is purple. And the question is it this one? It cannot be this one, right? Because then we say that is orange, and then that must be blue, and then we have two one cell areas. So it isn't the middle one. Could it be this one? Then those would both be blue. I don't think it can. Because what's this digit going to be, right? It's obviously going to be higher than 5 because you're going to add something to 5. Then that cannot be 8 because of that 8. 6 would go with a 1. 7 would go with a 2, that's a problem. 9 would go with a 4, that's a problem. So then this is the case. But how do you make 6 again? You cannot use 5, 1 or 4, 2. So you can't. So that's not the case. This is our purple, and that's our orange. And again, I'm not going to invoke symmetry because that would just be silly. But that is somewhat of a deduction, I guess. Whatever it does. I guess. Where does 9 go? Because, right, if 9 can, in this row, where does 9 go? It can either go there or it can go there. If it goes there, we know that the sum is 14. Can we make more pairs of 14? So 5, 9 doesn't work, then this will be 6, 8. Right, that's fine. But what is this then? Not 5, 9 because of that 5, and not 6, 8 because of this. So that's not the case. So that's not 9, so that is our 9. That cannot be a 1 because then the sum is 6. So that's not our 1. So one of those is a 1. But I don't know which. In fact, what am I missing? It is 3, 6, and 7. And 1. Yes. So we said that cannot be our 1. So we have very limited options for this. Right, if we try 8, if that's 3, 5, right? First off, that cannot be 9, so that cannot be 1, because I saw that. And I wanted to fix it. If that's a 3, and that's a 5, then this must sum to 8. So it's either 1, 7, it's not 3, 5, or it's 6 with a 2. It's not 6 with a 2. So then we know that it is 1, 7. And that's the case where this is a 3, right? So how do you make 8? It is not 1, 7, not 2, 6, and not 3, 5. So there is no way to make 8. So all that says is that this isn't a 3. So that means that that's not 6 or 7, because now we have a 6, 7 pair. But we can still work through the options. 6 creates 11, so then that must be a 3 with an 8. 7 creates 12, so that must be 3 with a 9, and that doesn't work. So we have 3, 8, 6, and then that is 11. How do you make 11? 2, 9 doesn't work. 3, 8 doesn't work. 4, 7 does, but 5, 6 doesn't. So it's 4, 7. So that's not a 4. That's not a 7, but that is now a 7. spicy. Okay. So that is not 3, 7 anymore. Oh, no. That is not 3, 7 anymore. So we know that this is 1 and 9 with a 4 and a 3. Yes. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that is correct still. So that means something right, I think. So that's a 7. Those orange 7s. That is now a 1, 7, and a 6. So that means that that's a 6 and that's a 1. I will look at that in a moment, but that is 15. So that means that that's that, and that is this. That means that that's a 1 and that's a 3. I'm starting to lose focus on the main part of the puzzle, I think. But for now that is okay, as long as it's making progress. That 6 removes a 6 from there. That 2 removes a 2 from there. Let's just clean up. I don't know anything about this. I do know that about this though. So this is 1, 9 and 2, 3, 1, 9 and 3. Yes. That's not 1 or 3, so that is our 9. So that's a 1 and that's a 3. That's a 3. Now that cannot be 1, 2, or 3. So it could be 4. Couldn't be 5. Could be 4 or 6 basically. So this is 7 or 9. It's not 9, it's 7. So that's a 4. So that's a 4. So that's a 4. That is a 7. That's a final 4. That's starting to finish things. That's a 7. That's an 8. I am just so impressed by this puzzle. Doing it was a hellish task, but I don't know, the way it rewards, especially double 1, that means 2, that means 7. Especially coming from Sudokuvania, how those puzzles were rewarding because they were part of a grander picture was very cool to see. And I think this, for me, delivered that same impactful feel, I would say, without, having the grandeur of what Sudokuvania was. And Sudokuvania is not something I will keep referring to on the channel because I don't know, it does in some sense isolate the people that don't know and the people that do, and I don't like that. This hobby is available for everyone, and I want everyone to enjoy, and I want to inform the people that I can. But it is just worth pointing out. I really like the way this puzzle rewards you. The pacing, the setting, it is just the making of a very ambitious, very difficult puzzle because it is brutal. It is absolutely monstrous. Even though a walkthrough like this feels much easier than it did the first time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, so that's a 2. That's a 9. Are we still on track with everything being correct? I think so. So what am I missing here? It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. So that's a 6. So what am I missing here? It is 3 and 2. What am I missing in this column? It is just a 2. So I'm missing 1 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 and 8. And this is 3 and 8. So it comes down to the last little bit. I can see the deadly pattern forming. I think there is only one way. 9, 9, 9, and 9. How am I going to connect that? Because purple, and whatever that is, that can be blue, and then that can be purple. And they ended up being different, not symmetrical. Okay. I really like that, actually, because the people that assume symmetry should be punished for doing so. Ooh, I almost did oopsie myself. That was very quickly, in my opinion. Thank you for watching this. This was something special to me. And I really appreciate it. Thank you. Have a nice day.